Hello, Mallards. It is Saturday, and today I did see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but it's going to take a lot longer to talk about that than I want to discuss right now before going to sleep. So instead, we're going to talk about a much shorter experience that I can describe much faster, which is the online VR show I did called Welcome to Respite. And you may recall that I attempted to do this show last week and ran into some technical difficulties. I got kicked off of the server and I wasn't able to complete the show, but I had fun with the onboarding process. Well, they offered a makeup show that was after the end of their run for the people who had technical difficulties last week, and I took advantage of that to go to the show today. And so around 4 p.m. my time, 1 p.m. their time, I logged back into VR chat. I went through the onboarding again, which went much faster because the only people who came to the show were people who previously had difficulties. So we knew most of the things. We onboarded really quickly, and then got into the meat of the VR show. And as I maybe mentioned before, the show was centered around a young child with dissociative identity disorder, or perhaps an adult with DID but our experience was centered around them reliving a memory from when they were young. And so there is one participant who plays the role of Alex, the young child, boy or girl, they, them, she, he, doesn't matter. Depends on what the audience member who is playing Alex selects. So in our case, a young woman named Alex, and her experience in this one specific night, like this one specific memory. And then the rest of the audience are all like labeled as Alex's other personalities, but our agency is very limited. And so in the course of the story, we are presented with like A or B options. And depending on what the majority of us decide, that is the decision that is then given to Alex as an action to take. So the audience member who is performing as Alex doesn't necessarily have to be a good performer, although the woman who played Alex in our show was a good performer, like is an actress, did a great job. She was very emotional. She gave a very emotionally driven performance and like was a part of the show, but it wouldn't have to be that way. It's set up very much so that that person is given prompts through Kyle, who is one of the other personalities who is named, who is the one like trying to get Alex to remember this specific time and like prompts a series of actions leading up and then delivers the results from all of our decision-making processes, like all of the others. And then we also have a few other things that we can interact with. So as just Wander audience members, there are like write-ups that we can see throughout the house around objects that like tell the story of objects or tell the story of moments that the person performing as Alex can't see. So we get context that they don't necessarily get. And then there is a point when a sort of shadow creature, who I'm unclear in the broader scope of the story if that shadow creature is meant to be like another personality, another identity, or if it's sort of just the manifestation of intrusive thoughts, because that's kind of the way that it feels. And at the point when that creature is encountered, we as the other personalities also have some agency to like protect Alex and to fight that creature. But the rest of the time, we're sort of like ghost observers. And in the VR chat world, really ghost observers, because they have a special process that turns our avatars completely invisible. So no one can see us as we're wandering around. And that's kind of interesting too. Like it's a very different experience to know that like the other ghosts also can't see me and I can't see them. And so it's like you're the only audience member in this show being performed by 3 people, even though you're one of many audience members in a show being performed by 2 actors and 1 other audience member. And the story itself, like the night that it went over, was very well put together, and it was an emotional beat. Like, you got a lot about the relationship and between Alex's parents and like some of the trauma surrounding that. And even though you didn't get like full answers, like it left me curious. I was like, I wonder about this. I wonder about this. I wonder about this. It did still feel like a full story. And then the VR chat visuals were really cool. So you start off shrunk to the size of a toy in Alex's fort. And that's where the onboarding process happens. And then you're transported into Alex's memory. And that happens through like Kyle prompting, and you essentially open a book, and then the book like unfolds, opens like a book opens, and then lifts up to become the roof of the house, and then the pages like fold out and it becomes the house. And that effect alone was really cool. And then there are a couple of other times where you're like, go off into space, and or the darkness like creeps in when you're in the bedroom, and also like when you're downstairs in the kitchen. And all of those effects were really cool. It is very interesting to see what you can do with a VR space that like you can't do in live theater. And part of that, even in immersive theater, like some of the stuff that you can do here is stuff you can only do in film, but because of the nature of VR chat and like how you can experience it, it does feel a little bit more like I'm physically there in immersive theater. And it was fun to interact with people, to talk with people, to have agency in this storyline. It blurs the line a lot between like theater and video game, because obviously this could be a similar experience with just like a really smart AI, but it's not. There are actual performers doing those parts. And I think specifically if you are Alex, it really feels different, because you've complete agency to say whatever you want and do whatever you want. And because they're actors, they're reacting to that, versus when you're playing a video game, like you only have a series of prompts. And so like we were more like video game players. We only had a series of prompts, but the one like main character had a lot more agency. And it was really fun, very well put together. They are doing another show that they premiered at South by Southwest and are hopefully going to have tickets to. And I will probably try it, because now I feel a little more comfortable with the VR chat platform and all of that. Also, if you know VR chat worlds that you would recommend visiting, I'm trying to visit a few of those. So I had a great time. Would highly recommend. It's The Severance Theory, Welcome to Respite is the full title. And I will put a link to their website down there, just so you can see what they're all about and hear about their new projects. And I will see you tomorrow.